So what
Wow.
are the first steps that you take? Because you had to drastically change your life.
And did nobody in your family know what was going on, or they like knew, but they just didn't know what to do?
I mean, everybody knew how sick I was, but it
Sure.
was just like, wow, this is sad.
But they
Like,
didn't,
it wasn't
it
really
was
like
they
we
didn't know
can do
where-
anything.
what to do about it.
Yeah, and every time we went to a doctor, it was like when I got diagnosed when I was 7, they said she has juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. It's in 32 or 37 joints, and it results in multiple joint replacements and an early death, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, that's the whole doctor's appointment. And there are some promising medications, some new biologics that like might work, but you're repeatedly told there's nothing you can do about it. So, which I hate in the medical system is like, yeah, you're diagnosed with X and there's nothing you can do about it. So like, don't even try, which isn't a favor to people.
Sure.
So we my mom was always dragging me to naturopaths and things, but she went like, she's open. So at one point I went to a massage therapist that I hate this. I think I was in grade 4 and she was massaging me and she was like, there's ancient trauma in here. And she ended up throwing up in a garbage can and being like, there's a lot of ancient trauma. And I was in grade 4 and I was like, Mom, I don't want to do that. No, it was grade 3. I was like, I don't want to do that kind of thing.
She would take you to these types of people.
It was everything. It was like a naturopath, people who did muscle testing. Like,
Well,
I was hooked up to electrodes. Yeah. And
this is going to be Lauren with our kids.
Oh man, it was like, and so the problem with that was because a lot of those alternative people were onto something, but it wasn't enough. And so what I saw is my mom going into these appointments, being hopeful, buying a whole bunch of supplements, none of them doing anything. And I was like, yeah, they're all quacks and they take advantage of sick people. Mm-hmm. So when I started to look into like alternative ways to get healthy, I had to unbrainwash myself from thinking that everything alternative was quacky. It was transformative anyway. It was needed.
When you look back at the whole journey of your health, what are like the little epiphanies that you think have made a big difference overall? Like, I'm assuming diet was one of the first things you changed, or no?
Oh yeah. Diet was first, luckily. Like I went back to university. I dropped out of classics and psychology because I was too tired to go to my final exams. Like, I couldn't get out of bed. And I was like, okay, maybe my parents wanted to keep me close to home because of all my doctors. And I was like, I'm not staying in Toronto. I'm going to Montreal for university. And then I went to Montreal and like died. So I came back home. I eventually went into biomedical sciences because I thought I'd need to pursue immunology or something to learn why I was sick. And I came across a bunch of research showing that gluten can be a huge problem for people with autoimmune disorders. So I kind of went the science route and then found all this association with like gluten and leaky gut and was like, maybe cutting out gluten will cure me. And I cut that out and it made like 10% of a difference, but it was enough of a difference that I was like, maybe there's something here. And I eventually kind of came up with an elimination diet. I was like, just to rule out if diet's the cause, like what are people allergic to? So I cut out like eggs, dairy, processed foods, grains, soy, nuts, like anything you would think as a sane person, what are people allergic to? So I was eating meat and certain vegetables and certain fruit. And my symptoms turned around in like a month.
And so what were like the first things you noticed? Like more energy, clarity?
No, I noticed. So I'd been going to the gym. I was on so much Adderall at that point. It was like,
oh, yikes.
Oh, yikes. Yeah. It was, I'd come up with this cocktail of medication enough to keep myself awake and functioning and chronically ill.
You would use the Adderall
Coming
to
off that much
awake.
Adderall is dangerous too. I'm sure you know.
Oh, yeah. I figured that all out later after.
Trial by error.
But it was like a pretty good cocktail at the time for not having any other solution. So the first thing I noticed is I was bloated, which I had been chronically bloated, so I didn't even know it was bloat, and that went away in a month. So I lost 3 pant sizes and 5 pounds, which didn't really line up to the size going down. So it was just like my stomach. I'd been going to the gym trying to get abs, and I was like, why can't I get abs? And then I changed my diet, and it was like sudden abs. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. So, and the funny thing is, I started looking long-term into how to get healthy for the arthritis. But the thing that really drove me crazy is I had this rash and it was starting to show up on my face and my shoulders. And I was like, my life is already bad enough with like chronic fatigue, severe depression, and my joints eating themselves. And now I have a visible rash. So now people can see that I'm sick. And I was like, okay. And that's actually what led me to gluten and the celiac rash. Found out I have celiac disease. So that was huge. So it was like vanity, I think, that really pushed me over the edge. Once people could see that I was sick, I was like, I can't have this.
So when does the lion diet come in? Is this way later?
2 years later. So
Okay.
I started cutting things out and I